More from Neri Zilber. He's a fellow at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy and joins me now live. Thank you for joining us on the program. This is the country's third election in less than a year, as I said, after both Netanyahu and Gantz were not able to form a government in the past two elections. Are we looking at the same results with this election, or do you think that we will finally get a decisive result?
Well, if the polls are to be believed, and last time they were actually accurate, we're looking at right around the same result. Deadlock, neither Netanyahu and his right-wing religious bloc won't be able to have enough seats to form a parliamentary majority, and neither will his main challenger, Benny Gantz, and his center-left bloc of parties. Now, having said that, over the past 2 weeks, we have seen a bit of a surge for Netanyahu and his Likud party. The real question today is whether he can get over the line or at least close to some kind of parliamentary majority. That in and of itself would be dramatic. But if not, then we're likely looking at weeks of coalition talks and perhaps another election.
Another election, hard to believe. How are Israeli voters feeling? Is there election fatigue and apathy at this point? And is that something that we're seeing as far as voter turnout?
So that was a major concern heading into today, how the Israeli voters would react. Most people, no matter if they come out and vote, are pretty much fed up with this recurring election cycle with them in their politics. Having said that, today, as of noon local time, turnout is actually a bit higher than it was last time in September. So Israelis might like to complain, but I think when push comes to shove, they know that this election, just like all the previous elections, are actually quite critical for the future of the country.
You mentioned the possibility of a fourth election if there is no decisive winner in this one. So what does it mean for the country if there is no clear winner? What will it take to get this crisis essentially solved?
So, I mean, going back now for a year, the real sticking point was Netanyahu himself. Blue and White and Benny Gantz have refused to sit in government with a prime minister who's been indicted on a slew of corruption charges, including bribery. So Netanyahu, the person of Netanyahu, is really the sticking point. However, the Likud, his own party, as well as his right-wing allies, have remarkably remained loyal these last 6 months. So that in and of itself, if that changes, that could open up a whole slew of possibilities. If not, what we're looking for in the immediate term after today is how the Supreme Court here will respond to Netanyahu potentially being asked by the president to form a government. There are many legal questions as to whether he's even eligible to form a government. That will be the first hurdle, really, for any real clarity coming out of Election Day.
Yeah, you mentioned Netanyahu is facing a corruption trial, which is due to start in a couple weeks' time. What's at stake for him here?
Well, aside from continuing to serve as Israeli prime minister and continuing his political career, his also, I would say, his personal freedom is also on the line. Netanyahu has, I would say, skillfully used the position of prime minister and the fact that he, by law, doesn't have to resign despite these corruption indictments to actually push back against the legal authorities, to press against the police, the state prosecutor, the attorney general, and now potentially the courts. So he's very much used his bully pulpit, the position of prime minister, to shore up his own personal legal position. Again, as mentioned, that will be really put to the test by the Supreme Court, the highest legal body in the land, perhaps in the coming week, as soon as this coming week.
So you talk about the outcome of this election as far as the polls are concerned, looking to be the same as the past two. It doesn't seem as though voters have been swayed by these corruption charges facing Netanyahu. Why do you think that is?
That is a great question. I think Netanyahu, going back now 2 or 3 years, has effectively priced in, so to speak, the corruption allegations and then now more recently the actual indictments in court. So among his loyal base of supporters, they truly believe what he's been selling them for a few years now, which is that this is all a left-wing witch hunt orchestrated by the media, orchestrated by the quote-unquote deep state here. So that's in response to his loyal base of supporters. I think other voters that may vote for Netanyahu or perhaps not against Netanyahu have been swayed by the fact that despite all of the legal problems that he's faced, he's actually remained relatively stable as the leader of the country. He's dominated the news cycle now for the past 3 months. He's flown to Washington, he's flown to Moscow, he's flown to Africa just in the past month. So Netanyahu has done a very effective job as projecting business as usual here in Israel. And for many Israelis who don't remember a prime minister before Netanyahu, I think that in and of itself has been very effective.
All right, thank you. Some great analysis there. Neri Zilber joining us from Tel Aviv.